Alright everyone, open your books to page 34. Today we'll study the conditionals.
Yay! We're gonna learn something new today!
Yeah, and it's gonna be boring as hell, and I'm the one saying this.
Don't pay attention to him. How bad can it be?
We have the zero conditional, the first conditional, the second conditional, the third conditional.
If only there was a fun, entertaining, and useful way to learn about this.
If you are already a real-lifer, you know that there is. If you are new here, you'll see that learning English does not have to be boring. As you just saw, conditionals can be a bit tricky to learn. There are so many of them, and too many details to remember. But don't worry, even if you have not formally studied them, you have most certainly heard them being used in conversation, and you've probably even used them yourself. Let's check out how much you remember.
It reminds me of a quote that if you stop growing, you start dying. So it's in a sense that
Yeah, this is an example of the zero conditional. So in today's lesson, I'm going to help you to review and understand the English conditionals so that you can use them in your daily conversations. To make it even more meaningful, you'll see them being used in natural conversations with our previous guests from the Beyond Borders talk show. How cool is that? If, just like Hamath, your goal is to learn English so that you can be fluent in the real world, connect with other English speakers, or even understand how English is spoken out there, then hit that subscribe button so that we can help you with that every single week with new lessons. Now let's jump into today's video. Let's get started with the basics. So what is a conditional sentence? That's easy. Now, conditionals are sentences in which one thing can only happen if, when, or as long as a certain stipulation occurs. Look at how Emma used a conditional sentence to express the relation between one's learning and their comfort zone.
If you don't step out there into that space, you don't get to have that experience.
This is another example of the zero conditional like the one that we saw at the beginning. Now let me ask you, conditional sentences are divided into two parts, true or false. This is true. To experience learning, the result can only happen if you step out there and feel uncomfortable, the condition.
If you don't step out there into that space, you don't get to have that experience.
We have the if clause that tells us what's needed, the condition. And the results clause tells us the action. Try to identify the if clause and the result clause in these sentences.
If he didn't support me in this idea of learning English, I wouldn't be able to do this on my own.
If any of us got tested positive while we're there, it's the 2 weeks quarantine with kids.
There are 4 basic types of conditionals in English. 0, if you stop growing, you start dying. First, if you don't go through the moments of boredom, you're not going to be able to learn the language. Second, if you could create a video for English learners, what topic would you choose? Third, if I hadn't practiced day after day, my English wouldn't have improved so much. Now, you may be asking yourself,
But how do I use them in real life?
first, you need to understand which ideas they express and then how they are formed. So let's start with the zero conditional.
If you stop growing, you start dying.
A future possibility, a fact, something obvious, a hypothetical future situation, a regret or past consequence. So zero conditionals basically work like this. When A happens, B happens. That's it. You can use it when talking about facts or general truths. For that reason, you're going to use the present simple for the two parts. Give it a try. How would you complete this sentence using the simple present of the verbs in brackets?
But if they don't go and do it and work on it on their own, their lessons with me are basically a waste of time.
Bonus question. Can we change the order of the if clause and say you start dying if you stop growing? Yes, it doesn't change the meaning at all. However, you do need to pay attention. If you're writing the if clause at the end, then you have to remove the comma. Another example of the zero conditional is something that we always say here at RealLife. If you don't use it, you lose it. We believe so much in it that we've built the RealLife app for you to connect with learners from all around the world and practice your speaking with short conversations at the touch of a button. Now, when you learn something, you need to make an effort to put it into practice without worrying too much if you're getting things 100% correct. So go to the Apple app or Google Play Store, or click on the link down below to download our app for free and start practicing right now. Now let's move on to the first conditional. Take a look.
If you plant 100 seeds in the garden, 20 of those seeds will grow into plants.
So we use it to talk about a real future possibility, to make a suggestion, or to discuss future plans. We call it possible conditional because there are real chances of the action happening. So the if clause will be in the present simple, and the result clause will be in the future.
If you plant 100 seeds in the garden, 20 of those seeds will grow into plants.
Now it's your turn. Try to organize this conditional sentence using the words from the box.
If I find a teacher and I pay them money, they will teach me.
Now here's a bonus tip for you. There are many ways to refer to the future in English, such as using will, the present simple, going to, may or might, and so much more. Now let's take a look at the second conditional. Is this question asking about an imaginary future situation or a past consequence of an action?
So if you could create a video that every English learner in the world or teacher you can choose would see, what would you do it on?
Now, if you answered an imaginary future situation, you're right. The second conditionals are improbable conditional, and they are all about imagining a present or future that you think is unreal or improbable. That's why we use would for the result clause and the past simple for the if clause. Look at this simplified version of the question and answer to better understand the structure. If you could create a video for English learners, what topic would you choose? If I created a video, my topic would be how to be a confident English speaker.
I can't rely on feeling motivated to study my languages because if I did, I'd probably not study consistently. I can't rely on feeling motivated to study my languages because if I did, I'd probably not study consistently.
That's right. Notice we often contract the word would to just apostrophe D when it comes after a pronoun, like I. See how Jack pronounces it here.
So if you could create a video or say give a TED Talk even that every English teacher in the world would see, what topic do you think you would choose, or what would kind of your key message be?
Yeah, I think I'd probably stick with two.
Now it's your turn to practice using the second conditional. So let me know in the comments below, if you could create a video for English learners, what topic would you choose? So now pause the video for a second and complete the sentence. if I could create a video for English learners, I'd talk about. Moving on to the third conditional. So take a look at this sentence. If I hadn't moved to Spain, I would have moved to an Asian country. So this is the impossible conditional. And we're going to use a third conditional sentence to refer to something that didn't happen in the past and speculate the consequences of it. So to form a third conditional sentence, you'll use the past perfect with the if clause and would or might plus the present perfect for the result. If I hadn't moved to Spain, I would have moved to an Asian country. So let's take a look at how I used it here when asking Anna about a past opportunity that she had.
How do you think that your English learning journey might have been different if you had been able to go?
All right, now choose the correct alternative to complete these third conditional sentences. Now that we've seen all of the main conditionals, let's recap using Leo's advice from the beginning of the video. All right, so 0 is to talk about facts. We use the present simple and present simple. If you stop growing, you start dying. First, to talk about possibilities. The present simple and future. If you stop growing, you will start dying. Second, to talk about improbabilities. Past simple, and then would plus a verb. If you stopped growing, you would start dying. And then the third, impossibilities. The past perfect and would or might and the present perfect. If you had stopped growing, you would have started dying. Now, before we practice them a little bit more, I want to invite you to pay attention to how conditionals are being used when you are watching a TV series or video, or maybe listening to a podcast, or even speaking with a friend. Take a moment to observe how they are used in real life. And don't be afraid to even pause and listen to it a couple of times if you need to. Don't forget to like this lesson so that you can easily come back to it and redo the activities. And let me know in the comments down below if you would like a lesson on mixed conditionals. Yeah! Which conditional is this?
So if you spend 1% of your day devoting it to a foreign language that you're trying to learn, in a year, you will be in a completely different place.
Third, second, first.
So if you spend 1% of your day devoting it to a foreign language that you're trying to learn, in a year, you will be in a completely different place.
What do you hear? If I, fi.
But now that I have an income, if I need to learn something, I'm more likely to pay somebody to get it done faster. But now that I have an income, if I need to learn something, I'm more likely to pay somebody to get it done faster.
You don't have to use if in the if clause, true or false. For example, when the pandemic is over, I'll travel to Argentina. Complete these conditional sentences with your own ideas. And make sure that you comment something positive on other people's ideas. If I am happy, if I travel abroad, I'm going to. If I had a superpower, I would. If I hadn't found the RealLife English channel, I wouldn't have. So, have you ever asked, I want to speak English with a native. Where do I find them? Have you avoided speaking with other learners because you believe it will make your English worse? You might be surprised to learn that this is not at all true. For example, Vanessa from Speak English with Vanessa shared how powerful online meetups with other learners are to practice speaking, and how she herself saw her French improve while practicing it with non-native speakers.